Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about 4 must-draft early-round running backs with league-winning upside in 2023 fantasy football. But before we can get on into these 4 must-draft running backs, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my 4 must-draft early-round running backs with league-winning upside in 2023 fantasy football. We begin with my first must-draft early-round running back with league-winning upside, and that is Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons. Current expert consensus rankings on Fantasy Pros and half PPR, he's the running back 3 at pick 5, and Underdog Fantasy has him as the RB3 at pick 10.1 based upon their current ADP. He's 5'11", 215 pounds, and played 3 years at Texas from 2020 to 2022, and he racked up back-to-back Michael Jordan 96, 97 1,000-yard rushing seasons. In 2022 at Texas, he had 258 rushing attempts, 1,580 rushing yards, 19 receptions for 314 receiving yards, and 20 total touchdowns in 12 games. While if you look at his stats, you could see that he hasn't caught many passes at the collegiate level. I really do believe that in the NFL, if he is given the opportunity to catch passes, he will be amazing at it. When he gets the ball in open space, this man can not only just run a motherfucker over like he's Derrick Henry, he could also just blow past him because he has excellent breakaway speed, a 4.46 40-yard dash, which ranks in the 87th percentile. This man was dominant, 50 Shades of Grey style in college football. Everyone hyped this guy up going into the 2023 NFL draft, and I believe that the hype is correct. I know there's a lot of people that are nervous to draft a rookie running back in the first round of fantasy football drafts, but if you worried in the past and you were nervous and you faded Jonathan Taylor, you faded Saquon Barkley because they were going too high in your fantasy football drafts, you obviously were disappointed because of that. And I think Bijan Robinson has all of the skill to potentially finish as the running back number 1 in fantasy football. He also is great in terms of pass protection, which will keep him on the field. This is a team that loves to run the ball. The Atlanta Falcons were running the ball at an incredibly high clip last season. They drafted Bijan Robinson so high to be the workhorse running back on this team. And if you remember last season, this team would be getting dogged late in the game. They would be getting their back blown out, and they would still run the ball with Tyler Algier. So imagine what's going to happen when you give a ball to a generational talent like Bijan Robinson. You are going to feed this motherfucker the ball. And another reason to like Bijan Robinson is the quarterback is Desmond Ridder. It's not like they have this elite quarterback where they're going to want to pivot off of Bijan Robinson. No, it's Desmond fucking Ridder. That guy stinks. So we all know they are going to run the ball at an incredibly high clip, and I fully expect Bijan Robinson to finish as a top 5 running back inside of the top 3, and I would not be shocked at all, even in his rookie year, if he finished as the RB number 1. Moving to my second must-draft early round running back, we got my guy 9-inch Nicholas Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings and half PPR have him as the RB6 at pick number 10. Underdog ADP's got him at the running back 4 at pick 14.7. If you're lucky, you'll get him in the second round, but I think in a lot of redraft leagues, he will end up being a first round pick. And if I'm being honest with you, even on Underdog Fantasy, where drafts are incredibly wide receiver heavy early on, I think he is going to eclipse that first round in Underdog ADP. There's a lot of uncertainty right now with Saquon Barkley's contract, and that might be able to push Nick Chubb over the top into being a first-round pick. So Chubb was a running back number 5 last year in half PPR and the running back 6 in half PPR points per game, despite the fact that the Cleveland Browns were a topsy-turvy team, meaning that to start the year off, even with Jacoby Brissett under center, they were looking pretty good. But once things went to Deshaun Watson, the offense fucking imploded like the ship that was going to investigate the Titanic, right? Things didn't go well for them, and things didn't go well for the Cleveland Browns because Deshaun Watson was incredibly rusty, and the offense just looked terrible. I've talked about this a bunch, but it was legitimately hard to watch the Cleveland Browns on offense last season, but I think things are going to change in a big way for the positive for the Browns offense. Again, running back 5.5 PPR last season, running back 6.5 PPR points per game. He played in 17 games last season, having 302 carries, 17.8 per game. Number 3 at running back, 1,525 rushing yards, 89.7 per game. Number 3, 37 receptions, 2.2 per game. Number 31, 27 receptions, 1.6 per game. Number 33, 239 receiving yards, 14.1 per game. Number 24, and 13 total touchdowns, number 3 at running back. Again, despite the fact that the Browns had Jacoby Brissett under center for a lot of the season, and then they pivoted to a very bad version of Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb was still printing touchdowns. He was incredibly efficient last season. He had 4.8 true yards per carry, ranking 9th. He was 13th in yards per touch, 4th in juke rate, and 6th in yards created. There's been a decent amount of rumors talking now that maybe the Browns are going to look to use 9-inch Nicholas Chubb to catch more passes. Now, do I think he's magically going to become fucking Christian McCaffrey or Austin Eckler and get potentially 100+ targets this season? No. But do I think he could get 60-ish targets if they really are going to commit to Nick Chubb as this potential 3-down back? I think it is possible. They got rid of Kareem Hunt. They don't really have this crazy depth behind Nick Chubb to catch passes. So while it is just a rumor, and while we probably won't even know in preseason, we'll have to see week 1 what they end up doing, I do think that added upside pushes Nick Chubb even further up my rankings. I genuinely believe, again, to reiterate, that I think this Cleveland Browns offense is going to look significantly better. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to look like Stevie Wonder out there trying to throw the ball, right? The guy literally looked like he had no idea what he was doing last season. Do I think that we're going to get the same Deshaun Watson from Houston where he's looking like the fucking MVP of the NFL? I don't necessarily think so. But as long as he's not what he was last season, you are going to be very excited about this Cleveland Browns offense. You are going to be very excited for my boy, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. And again, if he just catches some more passes, he really could finish as the running back 1. Moving to my 3rd must-draft early round running back, we got Breece Hall of the New York Jumbo Jets. Fantasy Pros ECR running back 11 at pick 21. Underdog ADP running back 11 at pick 31.4. Obviously, right now, there are a lot of rumors out there about Dalvin Cook potentially going to the Jets. Dalvin Cook is also rumored to go to the Dolphins, to the Bills, to basically every fucking team in the AFC East, right? There's a lot of talk about Dalvin Cook potentially going to those teams. So if, when all things are said and done, the season's about to start and Breece Hall is in a committee, not with Michael Carter and these other running backs, with Zonovan Knight, the new guy that they just drafted as well, if it's just Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, then it's time to panic. It's time to say, you know what? Let's not draft Breece Hall in the 2nd or the 3rd round. But if we get to this season and Dalvin Cook is on some other team, which I honestly think is possible, Breece Hall is going to be the workhorse running back on this team. And when they gave Breece Hall the reins last season after they fucked around early on with a running back by committee, once they fully pushed towards Breece Hall being the guy, the man was absolutely dominant. He was dicking defenses down game in and game out. But he only really got 2 starts to do that. He was the running back 42.5 PPR, and again, he played in 7 games with only 2 starts. He was the running back 7.5 PPR points per game. He sadly tore his ACL in week 7. Now, the good part about that is not that he tore his ACL, but that it was in week 7 and not in week 16, because if it was week 16, it would be very hard to project Breece Hall to start at the beginning of the season. And right now, based upon everything that I've read, based upon everything that's came out of the Jets camp, Breece Hall should be good to go for week number 1. And I think as we get closer and closer to August and more positive news comes out about Breece Hall, and then once people start seeing Breece Hall on Hard Knocks, they're going to start getting a hard cock and start drafting Breece Hall much higher in drafts. This is called the Hard Knocks effect. It happens every single year. You see these players on Hard Knocks, everyone watches it, and then they talk themselves even more into the player because they know more about their backstory. Happened years ago with the Browns. Jarvis Landry gives this crazy speech. His ADP is skyrocketing, right? So it does happen. That's just something that I want to talk about even more once the show actually starts. So 80 carries, 11.4 per game, ranking 52nd, 463 rushing yards, 66.1 per game, number 44, 32 targets, 4.6 per game, number 40, 19 receptions, 2.7 per game, number 49, 218 receiving yards, 31.1 per game, number 27, and 5 total touchdowns, 31st. Again, those stats aren't necessarily mouth-watering. They're not going to make you want to draft Breece Hall. But when you actually dive deep, Michael Phelps style, into the stats, you will see that Breece Hall has that legitimate running back one upside. I've said that about every player running back in this video. I think they could finish as the running back number 1. Now, obviously, do I have them ranked as the running back 1? No, because you can't have 3 players ranked as the number 1 running back. McCaffrey's my number 1 running back. But I can see a path towards all of these guys finishing as the RB number 1. So interesting efficiency stats, 6.9, very nice, I like. Yards per touch first, 5.3 true yards per carry third, 50.5% juke rate first, 11.3% breakaway run rate second. This guy is a prodigy in the NFL. This guy is legit, and maybe it takes, the one thing I will caution you, is it might take a couple of weeks to start the season for things to ramp up. I don't necessarily know if week 1, I think he's going to play. But what I say, it's a 100% lock that he's playing week 1 and getting a humongous workload. You never know, right? The snaps might be down early on, but I think by at least week 3, he should be rolling out there as the clear workhorse running back in a great offense with a great defense. And you know what happens when you got a great defense and you got a quarterback that isn't fucking Zach Wilson or Mike White or Joe Flacco? You can run the ball late in the game, which is great for Breece Hall's upside. Before we move on into my final must-draft early round running back with league-winning upside, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. If you're brand new to Underdog Fantasy, make sure you click on the link in the video description down below. They are the best place to play best ball fantasy football this summer. They just brought out a new contest. They have the fast puppy and the slow puppy. The fast puppy is fast draft, so like a normal draft. A slow draft is the 8-hour clock of the slow puppy. $5 to enter, 150 max entries, $75,000 to first place, and $500,000 in total prizes. If you use promo code Notorious or click on the link in the video description, you will get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. You deposit $100, they give you an additional $100, $50, additional $50, $25, an additional $25. Best ball on Underdogs. The best part about fantasy football, it's the draft. That's it. You don't have to worry about waivers, trades, in-season management. Underdog automatically puts your highest scores into your lineup at the end of every single week. I also put the props on the screen when I talk about each player that you can also take on Underdog Fantasy. So back into the video, moving now to my number 4 must-draft running back, early rounds, that I think has league-winning upside, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs has stood as my running back 12 in my rankings from, I think, May, when I first dropped my rankings, all the way till now. He's still a top 12 running back for me. He's coming off the board on Underdog as the RB13 at pick 39.2. Fantasy Pros ECR got him as the running back 17 at pick 36. He played his first 2 years at college at Georgia Tech, but everyone knows about him at Alabama in 2022. Roll Tide. 12 games played in 2022 at 20 years old, so very young. 151 rushes for 926 yards, 44 receptions for 444 yards, 4 for 4, like he's at fucking Wendy's, with a 12.8% target share, not 112.8 target share. That'd be crazy in that offense. So Jahmyr Gibbs was looking great in one of the best offenses in college. He has a 99th percentile 40-yard dash with a 4.36, 91st percentile speed score with a 110.1. He's 5'9", 199 pounds, so he's not the biggest bastard, and he's not the tallest guy on earth, right? But even though he's a short king, a lot of people have talked about him like he's DeAndre Swift, and I know, Nick, DeAndre Swift absolutely screwed me in fantasy last year. Just think about DeAndre Swift as a prospect, right? Think about the speed, think about the size, think about Alvin Kamara. Now, not the Alvin Kamara beating the shit out of someone in the club. Think about Alvin Kamara as an NFL running back. Coming out of college, what did he look like? Jahmyr Gibbs is incredibly fast in an offense that needs weapons. I know Jameson Williams is going to miss the first 6 games. Who are they going to throw the ball to? Jahmyr Gibbs could potentially be running out wide early on in the season. Because again, besides Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown's great. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Don't get me wrong. But besides Amon-Ra, the first 6 weeks of the season, they've got Marvin Jones. They've got Tom Kennedy. They have a bunch of just no one at wide receiver. They don't have these big name wide receivers. So Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get involved in the passing game. The only negative towards Jahmyr Gibbs is I fully understand when they're knocking on the door, Detroit marches down the field, Jahmyr Gibbs busts off an 80-yard run, some DeAndre Swift shit, and they get on the goal line, you kind of know who's going to get the ball. It is going to be David Montgomery. Last year, it would have been my boy Jamal Williams, but David Montgomery's that bigger back. They gave him the money to do that, but I think as they're driving up the field, the ball is going to be given to Jahmyr Gibbs. He has amazing pass-catching upside, elite pass-catching upside, and I think this Lions offense is ready to burst through the wall like they're the goddamn Kool-Aid man, and I am ecstatic to get Jahmyr Gibbs where I can right now. I still really like David Montgomery because I think, again, he's just going to be jamming in touchdowns like it's his job. But I think Jahmyr Gibbs, even where he's going, even in the third, the fourth round, I'm ecstatic for the upside, the pass-catching prowess that he possesses, as well as the speed. Because whenever you get a speedy running back like this, all it takes is one carry outside, and you can't catch him outside like Dr. Phil and whatever the fuck that girl's bad baby. He's going to take that shit to the end zone. You better believe it. And again, early on in the season, they're going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're going to have Josh Reynolds. They're going to have Khalif Raymond, Tom Kennedy, all these scrubs. So maybe early on in the season, we're going to see Jahmyr Gibbs catch a shit ton of passes. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. I love you guys all so much. Make sure you guys check out Underdog Fantasy. Again, link down below in the video description. I love you guys all so much. Hope you all have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.